Hello and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I am renovating a Sylvanian doll's house and currently making miniature furniture. Last video I made this bed and we need a mattress to match. So the first thing that I did was create a little template, a paper template, just so I can get the right size when I cut my fabrics. You can of course use any fabric that you want, but I wanted to choose a kind of typical vintage fabric that may have been used on mattresses, such as this floral or a stripe. So I eventually chose a stripe, and I just wanted to cut out 2 rectangular squares with a little bit of a seam allowance on both. So once I cut those out, you need to decide what depth your mattress is going to be. So I took the little piece of paper and measured kind of what I needed and just cut out another long strip that's long enough to go around your whole circumference of your mattress. So I trimmed that up and again kept enough seam allowance so I could sew it together. So here you can see how it will wrap around the top of the mattress. I also want to add piping. I was being a little bit bold because my skills of sewing is not that great, and transferring that into miniature is a whole other headache. But if you want to add piping to this, you can create your own piping pretty easily. I also just curved the edges as well and trimmed off the harsh corners. So yeah, to create the piping, I just cut another very thin strip and added some yarn. You could double up the yarn or use some thicker twine to create that kind of circular edge, that rounded edge, and I'm going to be sewing that closed, as close to the edge of that as possible. Since doing this project, I have come up with another way to do this, which will be a no-sew version of this. So this is like the kind of hardcore version if you want to sew everything by hand or with a machine. But yeah, it's a little bit tricky, this next stage, but I'm going to show it anyway because sometimes you have to do things the hard way around to realize that you can do it the easy way around. Also, I could have just researched it a bit before, but anyways, so yeah, I just sewed all of this up and just created a little thin tube of piping. Make sure that you have enough to go around the entire thing, and this is how it looked. Because this is where I was trying to sew it all together in kind of one piece. So I would have the top facing of the mattress sandwiched between the piping and the side panel bit, but I ended up not doing this and just sewing the piping on first and then doing the side panels because it was extremely difficult to do it on the sewing machine. So I would recommend just doing it bit by bit if you are going to do it by hand. But yeah, it was pretty hard. I would also recommend, if you are doing this, when you get to the corners, you want to trim little slits in the corners, just so that when you do go around the corner, it has enough to bend and form to the corner, because otherwise it can be really, really tricky. So anyways, after I'd finished that, I have this casing, and it was okay, but the corners weren't as sharp as I wanted, so I just pleated some of the edges to create that nice sharp corner. Now, as you can see, my measurements were a little bit off on this and ended up giving myself a really deep mattress, which is not what I wanted. So behind the scenes you don't see this, but I actually had to undo all that work and trim it down the size and the depths of it, because it was also wouldn't fit into my bed frame, which was not good. So you aren't seeing me pulling out my hair, but yeah, let's just forget about it and move on. So you want to keep a hole for stuffing your mattress in once you have got it down. I also just hand sewed the back or the bottom of the mattress facing on as well. So you want to just use wadding or spare threads or whatever you have hanging about. So I just stuffed that all up until it was to the firmness that I wanted, and then just hand sewed that hole back up so everything was closed. Probably so many other easier ways to go about this, especially with sewing techniques, and you could probably do hidden seams, but yeah, my sewing skills aren't the greatest. But anyway, on to the next bit. You want to do the tufting, which is going to make this mattress look really realistic, and you want to be able to do a French knot. So this is a little tutorial. You want to pull your thread through wherever you want to do your tufting and leave a little bit at the back. Then you want to move your thread, hold your thread to the left, wrap around twice or one time, how many times you want depending on the thickness of the knot, and then push the needle back in, not into the same hole that you've come in through, just slightly above or to the right. Pull through whilst holding your thread, and once you get to a little bit shorter you can pull it through and it will create this knot that looks very handily like a very small button. So that's really handy, and then once you do that you can just tighten the bottom. So I planned out and just marked very lightly in pencil the pattern design that I wanted to do, which was about 3 horizontally across, 2 in the next row, and repeating that kind of pattern all the way down the mattress. And I just did the French knots over and over until it was all completed. You want to make sure that when you finish the French knot that you leave about an inch of thread on the back so that you have enough to pull and secure them. So this is how it looks with all of the threads and the French knot in place. So as you can see here, you'll have 2 lengths left, and you can pull them just like that to create that tufted effect that you see on mattresses that makes it look all cushiony and soft. And you just want to pull it and tight and do a double knot. That's what I did anyways to secure them. And after that you can just trim off all the edges. So I just continued to do this, and it's quite funny looking back at this, at how small this is, because when you're working up close on miniature projects, you kind of forget how small they are. But it's quite funny to think that I've been working on a day for making this mattress. It's kind of hilarious. But anyways, that was pretty much how I've done the mattress. I just trimmed off all the excess bits and tidied it up a little bit. You're not going to see that, so it's fine. But yeah, this is how it turned out. It's not the best, the most perfect mattress. Since working on this, I am going to do another one at some point, and it will be a hell of a lot easier to do because I have figured out a way to create this effect much more easily and probably make it look a lot more neater and structured. This looks like a very flat, worn out mattress, which if you want that style for your little vintage house, then go ahead and try this tutorial out, because this is what you'll get. You'll get a kind of lumpy looking mattress, but it worked out for me. But this is just a first trial, so stay tuned for another video where I will be using I think other techniques for this, including probably a kitchen sponge, and maybe just do it as an entirely no-sew project, because I think that will be a lot more accessible for people to do. So if you liked this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel for more furniture and miniature designs. So thanks for watching. Bye.